Welcome again to our continuing coverage of OFSAA Championship Soccer. And right now we're looking at the principles of this afternoon's match. 18 teams here just a few days ago, and we are down now to 2. And these 2 will battle it out this afternoon for the right to call themselves the All-Ontario High School Champions. And we're looking right now at the Cardinal Newman Express, and they are from Hamilton. And we'll begin with the goaltender, Joe Seven, and then on to Paul Boyne, wearing number 8. Number 16 will be John DeLuca. Steve DeLuca will wear number 23. Paul Devitt, number 14. Number 21, Mark DeSova. 7 will be Jack Ferrara. 9, Wayne Gomez. 11, Rudy Halakar. 13, Mike Matina. 24, Jerry Moraes-Toso, I hope. 5, Jerry Pereira. 20, Larry Preto. 10, Paul Smith. 4, Benny Vetreska. 25, Marcelo Zanin. He's the backup goaltender. 18 will be Joe Lacerdo. And 19, Peter Minkowitz. And the Cardinal Newman Express with their coaching staff, Mark Kovacs. A sensational junior record, now moving up, of course, to the varsity team. The assistants, Carmen Dalica and Kurt Gomez. The manager, Andre Verboom. And they are the Cardinal Newman Express from Hamilton, wearing the predominant white. Now the George Harvey Hawks, and they, of course, will be led by their goaltender, Vito Montesano. Number 1 will be Tony Cruz. 2, Bruce Black. Then comes Dwight Smith, Mario DiBiase, Joe Quintal, Gino DeFlorio, Hugh Reed, the captain, Lendl Roberts, Bronco Vukovic, Rick Fantine, wearing number 14, Carlos Monsalve, Dominic Battaglia, and Nino Adamo. The coach is Frank Shaw, and his assistant, Jerry Scheiman. And those are the teams, the George Harvey Hawks and Cardinal Newman Express. And in just a moment, we'll be underway with the championship game in the 1983 OFSAA High School Soccer Championships. We'll be back right after these messages.
Caliber of plays up to now. I'm impressed with the midfield play from George Harvey and the hard shooting we got here from number 22, is it?
23, Steve DeLuca.
DeLuca, yeah. From, I hope.
He shoots from anywhere, doesn't he?
That's yes, right. They're going to have to stop him from getting those free shots.
Mm-hmm. Was he doing that a lot in the game you saw?
In the previous games, yes. Mm-hmm. Particularly on the attack, somebody gives him a loose ball and he's away. He's a very, very dangerous player.
He's had a little trouble with his accuracy. I don't know whether or not he's been going for those corners, probably. But he's been missing, but not by a heck of a lot.
What we're looking at here are 2 very well-disciplined teams, it appears to me. Both teams play the positions very well with a great deal of intensity.
Errol Broderick shaken up on that play, but appears to be okay and stays in there. Montesano, the red-headed goaltender of the George Harvey Hawks. That's taken there by number 14, Paul DeVitt. And the ball goes over again to Harvey, headed away by Paul Boyne. And Gino DeFlorio will try it again. He's number 9. Put in for number 15, Monsalve. Long lead pass. Trying to get to it was number 16 of Cardinal Newman, John DeLuca, the captain, one of the captains. Watching him closely again was Errol Broderick. Asked the coaches for, a one-line description of some of the players, and the little thing I penciled in after Broderick was a tower of strength defensively, and he's already proved that very early in this game.
That's right. We may look for him to open up a little more later on, too, and start to play very offensively. And looking at his very build, he's the sort of player you do like to have up the middle to sort of open things up somewhat.
It's very reminiscent of Peter Pateman from Victoria Park a few years back.
I thought that's
He's got the
who I was
speed
looking
and the
at,
aggression.
yeah. Peter Pateman was a very strong player for Victoria Park some years ago. The Victoria Park team took part in this tournament probably about 4 years ago, and they were expected to do very well, but with the number of teams taking place in this, any one team can beat another team on a given day, in this series.
Jerry Podrebaric, another co-captain with Cardinal Newman, lost possession just a moment ago, and the Harvey Hawks try and control now. Ball knocked away in a collision at mid-pitch right there. You would think that Mark Kovacs would be a sort of an easygoing individual on the Cardinal Newman side. After all, he's had plenty of experience and led his juniors to undefeated seasons. He appears to be a little uptight today, and I suppose he's got good reason. First of all, his team is in the championship final, but other than that, his wife is expecting the birth of their first child, not any day, but any minute now.
Oh.
So I said, by the time this program reaches the air, of course we're taping it now, he will be the proud father of a bouncing baby girl or boy, or maybe even more, I don't know. So our belated congratulations to the Kovacs family.
Well, one of our coaches then is becoming a father, and one of our linesmen, Mr. George Bailey, became a father-in-law yesterday. So.
Really?
His daughter was married. I have no idea of the name of his son-in-law, but as we can see, George is standing there very proudly.
He is indeed. There is no score. We are at York University with the sunshine, now a little bit of wind, and this is the championship game of OFSAA 1983. Big day in the lives of these youngsters we watched today in red and white. And worked hard to get here. Mike Matina, number 13, tried to get it out of harm's way. A battle for possession. Looking for it there was number 24, Cardinal Newman. Jerry Mortoso had a little trouble with his name during the opening lineups. I think Jerry got more of a kick out of it than anybody.
He's probably had a good deal of experience in having people pronounce his name.
I bet. Joe Seven, goaltender, gives the ball a ride. Good kick. A header, and we're right back into Cardinal Newman territory. After it there is Peter Minkowitz, and he rounds out the captaincy of Cardinal Newman Express. One bouncer to Seven, and this time goes to the left-hand side of the pitch. Paul Smith tried to keep it in, could not do so. Tried to set up number 16, John DeLuca. Ball tossed into play. Here's Smith again. Plays a strong game. Here's DeLuca. Watch him wind up. No, sir. Down he goes. I don't think he intended to kick it there, did he?
No, he was trying to force his way through, and that's when the Newman players brought him down.
Well, he'll get a chance now. When you see them lined up like that, yes, you can see the contrast, the contrasting difference between the two as far as height goes.
You might want to watch for the interplay here on them trying to set up if this is a set play. They talk to each other and they'll tap the ball, and there we go. Now that wasn't very well kicked, but
it was well enough executed up till the kick.
Yeah,
they plan. They seem to have a lot of set plays, and this is what a good team will do. Trying to confuse the defense.
Did they do that quite often in the game you saw?
Yes, in every one of the games I've seen with them, they have used this sort of tactic. It's a good ploy when you have a free kick near the penalty area.
That ball ends up out of bounds. Randy Holliker, number 11, for Cardinal Newman.
It's interesting to note that the coach Newman was saying earlier that the goaltender Joe Seven like our friend Peter Hudson of the Vanier team, had previously been a very strong field player, and this is his first.
Beautiful what goal. A pretty play, no question about it.
Beautiful.
Beautiful is right. Nino Adamo.
Was that number 14 that made that beautiful pass down the wing?
And a nice move Adamo made to get around the defender. Nice goal. Beautiful. Pretty individual effort. Well, there was nothing lucky about that. That was very skillfully done.
Well executed play.
No question.
They had been playing the ball too much in the air up till then and losing to the bigger kids in the Cardinal Newman team.
So the George Harvey Hawks are on top. They get the opening goal of the ball game. Nino Adamo, nice move, and a very aggressive type kick, and they lead 1-0. He knew where it was going, didn't he?
That's for certain. It was well planned, well executed.
Hugh Reed of the George Harvey Hawks is hauled down.
I think perhaps that's the first time Newman's been behind, is it?
I think so.
So it'll be interesting to see
how they react to being down. Yeah. I hope I didn't give Joe 7 a kiss of death there on that goal. I was talking about the fact that he had been previously a field player, a defensive player, I believe, and this is his first year in goal. He wanted to do it, and up until this particular. Of course, he did make a very strong attempt at that ball.
He had very little chance.
He had no chance. It was on the ground right at the post.
The injured player getting up slowly, seems to be favoring his left leg, is number 14, Paul Divitt.
It's interesting that often when you're making a comment about a particular player and his abilities and prowess,
it never fails. Never
you
fails.
Put the Joan on him.
It happens all the time. Like in hockey, a goaltender going for a shutout. As soon as you mention that, it's gone. George Harvey in red. They lead 1-0. Cardinal Newman Express in the bright white uniforms.
Well, Harvey seemed to be quite impressed with their lead at the moment, and they're really determined to protect it.
Well, last week during the consolation final, we saw one goal stand up. I think we're in agreement here that one goal will not be enough in this one.
No.
You can't sit on it with either of these two teams.
This is Rick Fantine, number 14. And the ball changes possession with great amount of regularity in the Cardinal Newman zone. It's right back in there again. DeLuca missed that one.
Number 9 of Harvey is limping right at the moment, and unless that
Gino DeFlorio.
Unless that's a permanent situation, that could be a dangerous situation for the team. However, he doesn't appear to be letting it bother him at the moment.
Beautiful ball.
Boy, can they move it. They're not big, but they're fast.
That's right.
The George Harvey Hawks. The sun is shining again, and more specifically on Frank Shaw and his George Harvey Hawks as they lead. And that went right to number 19, Peter Minkowitz. Headed back. And we have a whistle. Our location is York University. Excellent facilities here. The pitch that this championship game is being played on is one of 7. And of course, they've all been well used here during the OFSAA Championships.
Beautiful.
Right
Great
on.
shot.
What a great shot. Fine save, and on the rebound, they score. Carlos Monsalve, number 15. A great save, but it was a handsome rebound.
Yes.
It was almost impossible for him to hold the ball. We're talking about Joe 7.
It was a beautiful shot initially, well saved by the goaltender, Joe, but it just shows you the value of alertness on the part of the other players.
Definitely.
If the I forget who scored it, but if he had not have been as alert, they wouldn't have been able to pick up that rebound.
Carlos Monsalve.
It was his alertness.
Number 15.
Yeah.
Number 15. So it's 2-0 in favor of the George Harvey Hawks, and a big uphill battle now for Cardinal Newman. 2 goals in the championship game. They really haven't had great goal-scoring opportunities. Steve DeLuca had 2 good shots earlier, but they just went wide. Not by much, mind you, and he had a lot of stuff on the ball. Let's see if they can set the big fella up again. He wears number 23 and make a contest out of this. Wind has really picked up now here at York University. Pass ahead. Picking it up there is Branko Vukovic.
While it's we see a 2-goal lead on the part of Harvey, I would not count Newman out by any means.
Oh, definitely not.
While we'd, as Jim had asked earlier, if this is the first time they've been down, and I suggest it's the first time I've seen them down 2 goals, they hadn't been down at all. But while they had won all of their previous games, they didn't seem to really get going until well into the second half, and that might be the case today.
What a header. Well, we talked to Mark Kovacs, the head coach of Newman. He said he'll use all the players in his bench. That's how much depth they have, and we're seeing some new faces in there right now. Number 9 is in Wade Gomez. Battle for possession. Here's a chance now for Rudy Hallaker. Shot right on, and the easy save by Montezano. George Harvey, Hawks goaltender. Vukovic tries to get loose.
What number?
Now here's Hallaker, number 11, in front, and Gomez couldn't get to it in time. Here's the chance now for Mike Matina. The Newman Express. Whoops, that went the wrong way, and
Danger
the
here.
Hawks coming in again. What a great save. The save of the game so far by Joe Seven. That had goal marked all over
Good
it.
time to make one.
Definitely.
Just 3 down and you're out of it, I think.
I would think. Oh, you can almost feel that coming, though, couldn't you?
Beautiful.
Actually, it all began when I believe it was Jerry Mortoso tried to head the ball, you know, get it ahead, but he sort of got it in the crown, and it went back, and that set up that play. Went back toward his goal instead of going the other way. And, of course, the George Harvey Hawks jumped on that opportunity. They should have scored there.
That's right. It had goal written all over it.
Excellent save.
They might have had a decent effort on the corner, too, but he got up but didn't time it properly.
Right.
He had plenty of height.
There's Seven getting it out of harm's way now. Long for Jack Ferrara. And Kovacs really keeps that turnstile going, doesn't he, at the bench?
Right.
Here's a chance for Paul Smith, and that was blocked in front by Rick Fantine. In front, Fantine had it again, and it's kicked up to midfield. Montuso got it over now for number 8, Paul Boyne. Back into Harvey territory. The ball rolls out of bounds. Well, there's certainly enough time remaining. In other words, there's no reason for panic on the part of Cardinal Newman. They can still pretty well stick to their game plan, I would think.
Yes.
And that game plan would have to revolve around number 23, Steve DeLuca, who tried for it right there. Ball again rolls out of bounds as Boyne had trouble controlling.
Well, the Harvey coach has spoken about Vito Montezuma, is it? The number 6?
The goaltender?
No, rather number 6, the
Earl Broderick?
Earl Broderick as being a tower sprint, but I'm very impressed with number 9. He's, as a defensive player, very strong in the air.
Here's Smith battling with Fantine. Just a little tap ahead for Smith. He couldn't control it. Fantine gives it a ride. Long pass, and that's knocked down. Montuso, or Mortuso. Jerry over on the other side. Boyne is number 8, and that rolls out of bounds. 2-0. George Harvey Hawks leading here in the championship game of 1983 OFSAA High School Soccer Championships. The winner will take home the gold medal. And right now, Cardinal Newman of Hamilton down by 2 goals. 5 is Jerry Padrabaric. Chipped away by Broderick. Over here, Mortuso with a nice move to keep it in to Smith. Who's going to get it? Smith tries to keep it in. And it would appear to have gone outside, but no call. And then went for that far side, and that was another close call on the part of Cardinal Newman. Gomez in front. Over to Smith. And he may have waited just a little bit too long. He was forced to pass and couldn't get a shot away.
Yes,
now, beautiful ball.
Pass. Look at this for Dwight Smith.
Oh.
And guess who was there? Joe Seven.
Another good save.
DeLuca falls. Header there by Randy Holliker. Gomez right in front. And the easy save by Montezano.
Probably if Paul Smith had shot in that previous play for Newman and hoped to get a rebound, it might have been better than trying to pass.
I think he was forced to pass, though. He waited a bit too long. Imagine now that if that was big John DeLuca there, or at least Steve DeLuca. Mortuso. Up ahead, here's Smith giving it a ride toward the goal. And out comes Montezano to go down and hold on. You can almost feel a bit of a threat being mounted now by Cardinal Newman.
That's right. They do not like the position they're in.
It's a rather unfamiliar position for them, too, isn't it?
Yeah.
They were a bit too impatient in the last play. They've got to try to
Keep their cool.
That's right.
yes, build it up a bit slower and make sure they have a good opportunity when they
like
come
the
through.
Russians used to do
Yes.
with the puck inside.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't waste it when you've got it.
Right.
Don't lose the discipline they've had in previous games.
Exactly. The ball kicked out of bounds, and more of a precautionary measure than anything else.
Earlier, when the players were clamoring for the ball having gone out of bounds, what has to happen there, John, is that the entire ball must be over the line. It cannot be halfway over, 3/4 over. It must be entirely over the line before it's called outside or out of bounds. And of course, George Bailey, the linesman, was in a perfect position to see it and decided it wasn't completely over the line. That's why he's grinning at us right now, I think.
George, of course, was in complete control of the consolation final last week.
He handled it extremely well.
Mortuso for DeLuca, and DeLuca, the big fellow with that great kick, couldn't get it away. He was in pretty good position, too. Montezano, the goaltender for George Harvey, and that ball sails all the way into Cardinal Newman territory, where Mortuso gets it for Smith around midfield, drops it over here now for Halakar, and the pass was a bit too far ahead for Gomez to control. No, you're not getting it, says Montezano. Rick Fantine goes back again to his goaltender, and he'll set it up. Mortuso. Here's Monsalve. He has 1 goal already for the George Harvey side. They lead 2-0 in the championship final.
Well, Mr. DeLuca is going to have to get on track if Newman are going to get back in this game. He hasn't, outside that one free kick he took earlier, he hasn't had a good shot on that yet.
He's been in good position, though. You almost feel he's due, though, don't you?
Yes. He seems to be sizing it up a lot more than he was before.
Here's Broderick, number 6. Up the left-hand side. Really intended for Branko Vukovic. He couldn't get to it, but that gives Harvey an extra chance. It's out to Nino Adamo. He has one of the 2 Harvey goals. Falling was Hugh Reed, a co-captain with Harvey. Here's Paul Smith.
Trying to get too much too soon still.
That's right. That's
Really?
right, yeah.
He should have slid out on the wing.
Here's DeLuca to Gomez.
I like the way he
Stopped by
controlled that ball.
Fantine.
DeLuca brought that ball under control very well.
Stopped at center.
Whether Newman are getting away from the game, I don't know, or whether it's the fact that the Harvey defense is playing so well that the Newman forward line does not seem to be working as a unit the way it had in the previous games.
On to so nice play. Good save. Good save.
I think that was from his own player.
Good save. He almost fell into the net.
Yes, he did. That would have
And
made a difference.
that's halftime. So it should be an interesting second half as the George Harvey Hawks carry a 2-goal lead into the second half of the championship game. You are watching the OFSAA High School Boys Soccer Championship. We'll declare the Ontario champion in about 35 minutes from now. We'll break and come back with the second half of our coverage right after these messages. And there, one of the people in attendance for this afternoon's championship game is the Solicitor General of Canada, the Honorable MP from York Centre, Robert Kaplan, and he is here to perform a very special service. Following the game, Mr. Kaplan will present the medals to the winning team and, of course, the runners-up. So the second half is underway, and the George Harvey Hawks carry a 2-point lead into the final 35 minutes of play, of regulation time, I might add, in this championship final to declare the All-Ontario High School Soccer champion. This is John McGilvery, and we are back with Jim Loftus of Victoria Park and Jim Corbett of York Mills. Well, in the first half, gentlemen, we saw the George Harvey Hawks, as the score would indicate, execute very, very well, but we also saw some excellent goaltending at both ends.
Yes, it was extremely, that's been the highlight. Apart from the 2 goals, I think the goaltending has been a highlight of the game. It's a pleasure to watch goaltenders in that situation, and I'm sure the players themselves feel very confident with the goaltending and admire them so much in that situation. I'm rather surprised to see Newman down by 2 goals. My earlier experiences in watching them was that they might get a goal against them, but they would be quick to reply. And Jim has watched the Harvey team, and he thought that they would give Connell Newman a very good game, and obviously they're doing all of that.
Okay, let's see what happens. The George Harvey Hawks, long pass, good head back on that play. Taking over is Landell Roberts, number 12. Gets it deep, very close to the out-of-bounds marker, and it finally does go out of bounds. That was Dwight Smith trying to keep it in, number 4. And he'll leave it there for Carlos Monsalve, and Carlos has one of the 2 Harvey goals. He puts it in. Mortuso there to stop him. And we mentioned excellent goaltending, even though there were 2 scored on Cardinal Newman, as you mentioned. Joe, 7, you really couldn't fault him on those.
No.
And if the Harvey goalkeeper hadn't got that one right at the end of the first half, there would be quite a different game right now.
Definitely.
Precisely.
So there's no reason.
Sorry, John.
Oh, go ahead.
Obviously, they will try to make up for that one that got away on them, as I say.
Jerry Piper Barrett.
Is it? There it is.
This is. He really lost his timing, or his feet got tangled up. We're talking, of course, of number 14, Paul Devitt. He may have been just a little bit off balance, but he was in excellent position.
That's right. He did what is so often done, and we try to train players in that regard. Don't take your eye off the ball. You know where the goal is? Keep your eye on the ball. And that's what he did. He looked at the goal at the last second, and there it is.
Okay.
Good shot.
Who scored?
That was
23.
DeLuca.
Yep.
Steve DeLuca. Now, that is exactly what you were talking about.
That's right.
Don't panic. Set it up. He got it to Paul Smith. Smith returned the pass to DeLuca.
Yep.
Set him up. He teed it up perfectly for him.
That's right.
We have ourselves a ball game. Number 23, Steve DeLuca. And it wasn't until the early stages of the second half that Cardinal Newman finally hit the scoreboard. That's all I'm sure that's what they wanted, was to score early.
Yeah.
The Harvey defense looked a bit flat-footed there. They
That's
stood
right.
around and watched them
Right.
shoot.
A little mesmerized by that.
They were a lot quicker to get to the ball in the first half.
I think we have a change game.
Yes, it'll undoubtedly open up now. Neither club will go into a shell. Of course, Newman, there was no way they were going to go into a shell trailing by 2 goals. And certainly now, only leading by 1, that is out of the question for George Harvey.
What Newman has showed us is, despite that missed kick by number 14, or that Rick
By the Harvey,
Newman,
Fantine.
Paul Devitt.
Paul
yeah.
Devitt, yes. He missed kick. He took his eye off the ball. That's something we try to train players not to do at that particular situation. However, he did. He could almost taste a goal, I think. And,
Yes.
I think the position he was in, if he'd connected that was probably a sure goal.
Too anxious to
Yeah.
see the shot.
But it's rather interesting. That will often upset a team, and they will not settle down again, having missed one like that. But they came right back, and DeLuca scored a beautiful goal. But you can see the power of DeLuca's shot in that situation, and he teed it up beautifully. As we have teeing up and yards, gaining yards,
Gaining
2 or
yards
3
for a
downs
little
and
bit of
so on.
football and golf.
Mhm.
Fortunately, those terms are interchangeable.
Yes. And I suppose after today they can all go and play golf.
Yes, they could. It was an excellent day for golf. Here's DeLuca. Got them on the scoreboard, right back in the ball game. Steve DeLuca, number 23. Number 19 is Peter Minkowitz of Cardinal Newman. And he had it again. At center for Rudy Holliker. DeLuca double teamed and lost it. And the George Harvey Hawks come right back. This is number 13, Branko Vukovic. Vukovic with a little chip shot in front. It was bobbled momentarily by Seben, but he held on. Kicks it back to center. There's a race for it. Gino DeFlorio, number 9. Good play by John DeLuca. Newman will put it in. Now that's a header that just went wide. Close call. Can you do that? He actually used that grassy knoll over there to get a running start to get
That's
the
right.
ball in.
Yeah. As long as you do not step over the touch line, you can run for half a mile if you wish.
I
Provided
mean, he could go to the CN Tower and
That's
back.
right. That's right.
But that was rather innovative on his part. He got a good running start.
I would say that Cardinal Newman are not about to be counted out of this game.
In no way. Mortuso to put the ball in play. He gets it to Larry Preto. And you can see how Mark Kovacs continues to use his full bench.
Another good connect there, and it might have been a tie.
Great depth does Cardinal Newman, where he can put anybody in there, can't he?
They've certainly got the Harvey defense a little rattled at the moment.
What a luxury that is. I mean, we're not talking just one regular season game. This is it. Cardinal Newman continues to bring the play to George Harvey now.
They keep the ball a bit longer when they get it. They're rushing it down the field and losing it and just giving Newman another attack.
Mortuso puts the ball in play along the left-hand sidelines. Knocked back. Padre Barrick along the left-hand side. Now at center. There's a nice move by Preto. He falls. Number 11 is Hugh Reed. Reed, in some heavy traffic, works it loose. Padre Barrick turns on the afterburners, cuts up field. Knocked off the play right there by number 12, Lyndall Roberts. Roberts cross the pitch. Now on the right-hand side, it's centered more or less. Nino Adamo, he is one of the two Harvey goals. Tried to get it over to Bruce Black. Black keeps it in. Now to Carlos Monsalve. And it rolls harmlessly to goaltender Joe Seven. Joe's kicking against the wind here in the second half. Devitt falls along with number 6.
Beautiful play.
Harold Broderick. Padre Barrick is knocked down. And he will have the honor of putting it back into play. Jerry Mortuso, a little chip shot, knocked away by Broderick. Broderick is showing signs of that great defensive skill that he displayed in the first half, and he's again prominent in that department. Padre Barrick, a nice header. Here's Devitt. And what are they pointing at?
That's goal kick.
They were both pointing.
Well, he certainly had the goaltender beaten on that one.
He did. Angle just a little too difficult and sharp. But he again finds himself in good position. You're right, he's due.
Trying, yeah.
2-1, the team in red leads. They're the George Harvey Hawks. Over Hamilton's representative here this afternoon, Cardinal Newman. George Harvey had a 7-1 record in league play. They lost to East York in the first game of the season, and then they went the entire regular season undefeated. They lost again to East York, but beat East York in the Toronto District Championship game. So they had their trouble with East York, didn't they?
Do they play the spring season, Jim?
I think they do, yeah. West Toronto's spring season.
Laurie Preto. Preto again. And out comes Vito Montesano to make the grab, with Paul Smith leering at him right in front of the net. This is Rudy Holliker. And Jerry Mortuso will put it into play with the kick from around mid-pitch. DeFlorio heads it, and it ends up out of bounds. Leaving Steve DeLuca on the sidelines. He is the only goal for Cardinal Newman. He's going to use that running start off the grassy knoll as well. I think the wind may have held that up a little bit. Devitt with a shot. Smith scores! There's a young man that was due as well.
That's right.
Paul Smith.
And of course it came off Devitt's persistence.
It certainly did.
Well, as we said earlier, don't count Newman out. And they're a second half team, obviously.
Excellent shot by Smith. It went. Didn't have much room, did he? But he got it high, and it hit. I think it hit the crossbar.
It did hit the crossbar.
Yeah. It still counts.
It sure does. It's all tied up. A brand new ball game here in About midway through, I'd say, the second half, 2-2 tie.
I wouldn't want to make too many predictions, but based upon that turnabout and the way play has been going, I expect Newman to come on extremely strong now.
Sometimes the word momentum is thrown in at this point.
That's right.
Harvey's got to get back to their game. They've allowed Newman to force them into a hard-running, hard-hitting game, which is much better suited to Newman. They're not keeping the ball long enough when they've got it, and to give the defense a rest and try to build something up in midfield.
Big contingent here from Hamilton at York University, our perfect setting today for the championship game, and they have come alive, as you can expect. Here's DeLuca. Lob shot in front. Smith! Just headed it over the top of the net.
Well, it certainly turned into the sort of game we expected, Jim, hasn't it?
Yes.
Paul Smith with an excellent goal-scoring shot.
The wind seems to have turned around, too. It seems to be going in Newman's favor.
DeLuca's ability is coming to the fore now, too. You notice with the throw-ins and the kicks.
It was a perfect lob shot in front for Smith there a moment ago. Now George Harvey showing signs of offense. Here's Divitt. De Gomez gives it a ride up along the right-hand side. Trying to break loose there was number 20. That's Larry Prado. Chance now for Rudy Holliker. Stop. Battle for possession. Number 1 is Tony Cruz. And Tony Cruz makes his first appearance of the ball game. Headed there by Branko Vukovic. Branko lost it. Ahead to Gomez. Now of Cardinal Newman. And he is tripped up there by Vukovic. And Cardinal Newman will not retain possession. Vukovic will leave it there. And doing the honors, well, we'll check on that in a sec. Here's Tony Cruz losing it. DeLuca, long lead pass for Smith. Fantine, number 14, has trouble with a very persistent Paul Smith.
Well, the fans are seeing about as excellent a game of soccer as you'll see any day at the moment.
By Cardinal Newman in the early stages of this second half. And then, as you said, someone lit a fire under those George Harvey Hawks. After all, this is do or die. It's the sudden death championship final. Here's Smith. He lobs it just wide. I don't know whether Montesano got a piece of that or not. He may have. It was difficult to tell from our angle sitting here.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
He just shot it wide then.
That's right. Just hooked it too far.
Well, Smith was in excellent position again. As we look at the George Harvey Hawks goaltender, Vito Montesano. Errol Broderick. The center. Andre Barrick up for Prato. High lob shot. And Smith was right there. Any rebound there, of course, would have been fatal, or any misjudgment of the ball. Or Montesano. And trying to keep it in, number 8, Paul Boyne. This is Tony Cruz putting it into play now for DeFlorio. DeFlorio had trouble literally getting around number 19, Minkowitz. And will leave it for Tony Cruz, who in turn leaves it for Vukovic on this corner kick. Now the wind is almost favoring a corner kick from this particular corner. At least you can see the flag blowing. See how it's blowing toward the goal. If he gets it up, the wind could almost look after it. Had a little too much on that, though. Cardinal Newman. Intercepted there by Cruz. Ahead for DeFlorio. Race for it. Mortuso is after him as well. Out of bounds it goes. And who will get possession? Cardinal Newman. Wind has picked up a bit, and it's starting to cool off here a bit as the sun sinks slowly into the west at York University. Number 20 is Adamo. Into the corner.
Offside.
Sabin tees it up for Mortuzo. That's a pretty good kick considering the wind. Here's Smith looking for it. And he was outdueled by Fantine on that particular effort.
How's the time doing, Jim?
There's about 6 minutes left.
About 6 minutes unofficially remaining.
And the wind has really picked up in George Harvey's favor now.
It's almost right in their backs now, isn't it?
They're calling it a corner kick, I believe.
Or a free kick even.
Yep.
Free kick?
Somebody must have touched the trip, I guess.
Well, the wheels are turning on both
That's
benches
right.
now,
That's right.
aren't they?
Very critical moment in the game.
All right, Nino Adamo is ready. Here's his kick. Oh, what a
Magnificent
fine
save.
last
Still
minute.
could be in. Oh, he
And
missed
they, no
That
sir,
was
hit the
a-
side of the net.
That was a beautiful save.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
One-handed grab. It was just an extension. He couldn't have extended himself any farther.
No.
it. Although I think the rebound shouldn't have been wide from that distance.
Right.
Yeah,
Should have been at least a shot on goal.
that's right.
It was a good shot by Adamo, at least. Here's Smith after it. He battles Fantine. They've had a head-to-head battle going here all during the second half. Fantine and Paul Smith. Tony Cruz is number 1. Ahead now for Battaglia. Put into Cruz. Cruz tries to sidestep Hallaker. Fantine takes over. Little chip shot, no one over on this side as Devitt
All pushing.
tries to get around Jack, or at least DiBiase into the game now, number 7.
I'm very impressed with the defensive play at 19. He's played extremely strong when called upon here.
Minkowitz. You're right. Hallaker lobbed it in front. Look out! Here's Smith, and it's picked up just in the nick of time by Montezano.
Mr. Smith can smell a goal.
He's a pesky little fella, isn't he? Paul Smith, of course, scoring one of the 2 Cardinal Newman goals, along with Steve DeLuca. They're scoring all happening here in the second half. Here's big Steve DeLuca now. What a nice move. Look out. It's pushed ahead. He tries to regain his balance. He does. Didn't get enough on that one.
He needed that shot down the middle. That's where he's good at.
He is overpowering at times, isn't he?
He was knocked off balance there. That almost verged on a foul.
Talk about a contrast, the size of DeLuca and little Devitt, or Devitt.
Yes. Devitt's not as effective as he was earlier. He may be tiring someone.
A battle for possession there. There's Paul Smith again. Tried to get it up ahead to Prato and could not do so.
Harvey going into that sort of desperation defensive again. And that could be costly.
There's no real need for that, though, is there?
No.
When you consider that it's still anybody's ball game. You're watching the 1983 High School All-Ontario Soccer Championships, and we are at York University in Toronto. Culmination of a lot of efforts by a good number of people to bring this thing to a successful conclusion. And this, of course, is their centerpiece, the championship game, and it's all really we could ask for.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen some good high school soccer here today. Montesano does some directing of his own and then gets the kick away.
He's got an excellent kick.
He's got a little wind with him too now, which will help. DeFlorio lost it. Kick to Devitt, and then picked up by Lyndall Roberts. Roberts gets it in. Nino Adamo lost it. We have a whistle, and Devitt is called.
Often when a player gets tired, he becomes frustrated, and he's drawn into making trips or costly errors like that.
Last year's winner, of course, North Park. Game played in Hamilton in the wind and the rain and the cold at Ivor Wynne Stadium. The year before that, it was W.D. Lowe. They won it in St. Catharines. That was a pretty setting there. It was nice and warm that year, I recall. And then in Toronto, A.N. Meyer won it in 1980.
That's regulation time finished.
And that's it for regulation time. So we're going into overtime here for the championship, 1983 OFSAA. We'll be back to explain the overtime periods upcoming right after these messages. Looking at the Cardinal Newman goal, and this is it, overtime in the championship game to declare the 1983 All-Ontario High School Soccer Champion. What will happen? We'll play a 10-minute overtime period. They'll go 5 minutes each way, and it's not sudden death. If anyone scores, anyone leads after that 10-minute overtime period, then they will be declared a champion. If not, we'll move to penalty shots, and that is something that, of course, we'll all hope to avoid, because this is a championship game, and it'd be too bad to win or lose that way. So overtime is underway. They'll play 5 minutes each side. Here's Fantine getting it up. Almost intercepted by Mortuso. He has trouble, though, with number 13, Branko Vukovic. Now, you don't change anything, do you?
No.
In overtime. I know that they're probably a little uptight at this point, but you stick to your game plan, I would think.
Pretty well have to, yeah.
Well, George Harvey have got to get Vukovic into the game if they want to win.
Well, there's a good, hard shot by Vukovic.
Right.
A little too high, got a lot on it, and that's going against a brisk wind that has cropped up here at York University. John McGilvery, along with Jim Loftus of Victoria Park, and Jim Corbett of York Mills. And I think you said during the break between regulation time and overtime, it would be a shame now to see, well, one of these teams has to lose.
Mm-hmm, that's right. I suppose this is the point, too. You guess or try to predict who's going to get the winning goal. And I suppose my money would have to go on DeFlorio for Harvey and DeLuca for Newman.
I thought sure you would have picked out the little fella, number 14, Paul Devitt. He's had so many chances that, you know, he's almost due.
That's right. He seems to have tired in the latter half of the game, though.
But logical choices, you're right indeed. Paul Smith would also be another logical choice for Cardinal Newman. There's a shot that goes wide, and it's gobbled up by Montesano. He's kicking into a very strong wind now. And that ball goes out of bounds. To DeLuca. Big fella trying to get in position. But Broderick, who's played a strong defensive game, thwarts his efforts, and DeLuca was a bit perturbed with that, having words with the referee. 2-2 tie. We are in overtime. 2 5-minute overtime periods, if you will. At the end of the first 5, they'll change ends and go at it again. If there's no scoring there, or if it ends up in a tie, we'll move to penalty shots in the first segment of the penalty shot overtime. 5 players each will take shots at the respective goals, alternating. And then, if we're still tied for some reason, then they go 1-on-1, and the first to score wins.
That's right.
And that's happened at least three times during this year's competition.
2 or 3 times.
It reached the third segment.
That's right.
Mortuso, he has the wind behind him, and it is lofted right into the arms of Montezano. And a familiar visitor there. You can see number 10, Paul Smith. He has a good idea of what Montezano looks like. He's been right on his doorstep all afternoon long. 8 is Paul Boyne. Tried for it again. Here's DeLuca, almost tripped over the ball there. So had a change of plans a bit. Here's Smith with a shot right on. He didn't really get a lot of foot on that ball, did he? No. But,
it's one of the few that Fantine has mistimed.
That was a gift to the goaltender. You don't get chances like that and miss them.
Not especially in overtime of a championship game. All right. 16 is Battaglia. It's headed by DeFlorio, and it comes right back now to Hallaker. He's got Smith on his left-hand side. Hallaker, and he's stopped by Fantine.
Two-footed tackle.
Two-footed tackle, right.
Okay. That's an unfortunate break for Fantine and the George Harvey Hawks, because it was a fine move, a well-timed move at least. To thwart Cardinal Newman.
I thought French Smith had the winner there.
Here's Mortuso. He'll use the wind now. The lob, a little too far to the right. He knows it too as he sort of hangs his head for a moment. All you really have to do is get that ball up just slightly now, and the wind will almost do the rest.
That's right. Yeah, carry it a long way. Either Mr. DeLuca is trying to tee himself up too much, or George Harvey not giving him an opportunity to tee it up.
And that's the end of the first 5-minute segment of overtime. And we will be back in just a moment with the second 5-minute half as both teams change sides. We're tied 2 goals apiece in the championship game. Back in just a moment. Back to York University. I'm John McGolvery with Jim Loftus from Victoria Park, Jim Corbett from York Mills, and the second 5-minute overtime period just underway. That first one went by real fast, didn't it?
That's for certain.
I think it's a very short period, really. Too short.
So it should probably be a minimum of about 10 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So short that Paul Smith is probably shaking his head right now. He had such an excellent goal-scoring opportunity.
That's right.
And you have to believe
this is a danger man if he gets through.
Vukovic, you're right. Well, getting back right there was number 5.
Cool down.
I would say Padre Barrick. And they try and keep it in play.
He's well inside the box too.
That's right.
Looked like a penalty kick to me.
Yes, it was definitely a bring down. However, it's often the case in a very critical game like this, a critical point in the game,
Tough
the
to call
referee will not call it that close.
Well, not only would it be, a tough call to make, but should Vukovic be injured, what a serious blow that would be to
right.
George Harvey. They're working on him right now. Well, just as regulation time was coming to an end, we were sort of going over the list of former winners and team champions over the past few years in OFSAA. I think we got as far as A.N. Meyer, who won it in 1980. Western won it in 1979, and that year it was played in Peterborough. Cardinal Newman in 1977-78 in Toronto. 76-77, it was won by Downsview. Downsview won it 3 years in a row, as a matter of fact, from 1974 to 1976 in Newmarket, Brantford, and Windsor, respectively.
4 years out of 5 even, I think, there,
That's
John.
right. That's right.
You're right.
Howie Lowe's teams.
That's right.
That's right. And with any luck, Howie might have been here today. He was beaten in the North York finals by Vanier by a narrow score of 4-3. And played a very strong game, so he could easily have been here today.
And he'll probably be here again.
Yes.
All right, now it's the George Harvey Hawks with the wind at their back. Cardinal Newman, of course, enjoyed that luxury just a few moments ago. We're in overtime here, watching the game that will decide the boys' champion, the Ontario High School Soccer Championships. Tied 2-2. George Harvey Hawks of Toronto scored their 2 goals in the first half of regulation time. Cardinal Newman in the second. And that's where we stand right now. Close. And look who is standing right out in front. Number 14, Paul Devitt.
This is a big corner kick coming up right here.
The wind could play a factor here. It certainly won't work in their favor because it's blowing right into the face of Devitt. Here it is.
It's a good one.
Good ball.
Oh.
And Smith a little too much on that one.
He just
Trying to
couldn't get
pick-
over it.
Trying to pick up who is in front there. I think maybe I'll just have to wait and see. I think it was Padre Barrack who was in good position, but he was just shoved out of the way at the last minute by the goaltender. Downfield it goes, kicked back. Here's Padre Barrack again. Brings it to the Harvey side of center. Long lob for Smith. He'll have to hurry to try and keep this in bounds. Fantine.
He just didn't allow for the wind on that cross.
No, he
there.
didn't.
It was well meant. DeLuca with his big throw.
Off the bank.
And his 20-mile run.
Here's the header right to the goaltender, Montezano.
Just a touch more, and it was probably the Smith's coming very close.
I think that's about it for regulation.
Yep.
Overtime.
Well, we'll be going to the shootouts
He's just
here.
about to blow the whistle.
And again, Smith is in the first half of overtime. Had an excellent chance, and he was shaking his head coming away. The referee continues to check the watch. And we'll hear the whistle any moment now. Then we'll go to the shootouts. Providing a goal isn't scored here. Here's Devitt. Up ahead. Broderick is there. Nice play. DeLuca gets by his man. Gets a shot away, and it's wide.
He's playing a little extra time, I guess.
Again, the referee. There he calls time, and we are going to shootouts.
Well, you notice the referee's quite tall. He was probably playing mountain time.
He could have at that.
Glad you said that, Jim.
Okay, we're going to stay right here with the action, and now we can explain another segment of overtime. And this time, as we mentioned, we move to penalty shots. 5 players will be selected from each team, and they will alternate their shots. And that, of course, is a choice by the coach. Now, after that, you know, if they remain tied, then they go one-on-one. Every member of the team, other than the 5 that were selected, the 5 that have been selected for this particular segment coming up, are not allowed.
That's right. 5 other players
in the third segment. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and only the players who finish the game.
That's right. On the field
can kick.
And also in any segment here, it must be the players that were on the field at the end of the play or the overtime period.
It would appear that Vukovic, number 13 of the George Harvey Hawks, will attempt the first penalty kick or shot. And goaltender Joe Sebin digs in. It's just 1-on-1, folks. Number 13. Back in 1979, Newman lost the semifinal at Peterborough. There's Vukovic scoring, and they lost it in this very manner. And I'm wondering whether or not Mark Kovacs told his players about that particular series of events back in 1979. The trophy, and it's a beautiful one, is now being displayed at center pitch, but we'll watch DeLuca right here. Big fella fires and scores. That went right through the webbing. He doesn't have that strong a foot, does he?
Well, probably the net is lifted a bit. It's interesting to see the way the crowd has shifted down.
So DeLuca does the job, and we are tied again. This time, it'll be Nino Adamo. He has 1 goal already, and he scores. 2-1 in the overtime in favor of George Harvey. Now, the attention will focus on number 24, Jerry Mortuso. One save by either goaltender during these penalty kicks will bring the house down.
That's correct. All one miss by a player.
That's right.
Kicking the ball against the post, far or wide of the net.
It's really in the shooter's advantage. I don't think there's any question about that. What does the goaltender do now? Will he watch the other player's eyes or his foot or what?
Attempt to deke him out, attempt to consider which way the guy's going to kick the ball. But
I think he should probably just guess and dive.
Yeah.
Yep. With well-trained players, a penalty shot should never be missed.
Right. So Mortuso ties it up. And for all intents and purposes, the championship game is tied at 4-4.
That's why this becomes very interesting, because all of these players seem to have the ability to place that ball very well on a penalty kick.
2 years ago at Exhibition Stadium, of course, it was decided on a penalty kick as well. Actually, 3 years ago. A save!
Hit the crossbar.
No, hit the crossbar.
I was looking at my list.
Hit the crossbar and bounded down.
Well, Broderick was the shooter, Errol Broderick.
The player, Broderick, I think goofed slightly on that, because the goaltender touched the ball after it came up the crossbar, right? And in that case, he would have been allowed to run in and kick it.
On the rebound.
Right, Jim?
I'm not sure if that's
on the penalty
true
shot?
in this situation.
All right, we may need a clarification on that, but generally that's...
Because normally you see the plays continuous.
What a great save.
Yes, it was.
What a super
He
save.
put it too close to him.
On Padre Barrick.
That's 1 each. But the ball was placed too close to the goaltender.
Hugh Reed is number 11. So we're still tied after 2 attempts failed by both clubs. Unusual to see 2 in a row like that. And he fired it high and wide.
I'm extremely surprised with the ability of these players to see 3 penalty shots missed.
They're really getting under it, aren't they?
The last 2 Harvey players took rather a casual run at the ball, though, I thought.
Yep. Well, maybe they're not used to winning games on penalty shots, and this is where it shows.
Well, here's the young fella that we talked about all during the game, especially in the first half, where he was in excellent position and just kept missing. We're talking, of course, of number 14, Paul Devitt. He has a chance to win the championship for them right now. He scores.
Well, he got the one he was looking for earlier.
Well, one more miss and it's over.
That could be the winning goal.
Excuse me, is it not 2-1 and misses?
Well, this is the 5th kick.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
I'm saying if Harvey misses this kick, it's over, or if Newman scores the next one, it's over.
Right.
Okay.
Either way.
So it all comes down then to Gino DeFlorio. He's more than due as well. And he scores, as you can see. And here's Mr. Smith, who has been more than just prominent in this game today, number 10. I wonder what he said.
I think it's a friendly gesture. A recognition of the ability, I think. Asking him, please make me look good, and kick it right at me.
Here's Paul Smith. Scores!
Oh, what a valiant attempt to save it, though.
It really, truly was. And look at this. The crowd is on the field. The champagne has been popped, and the Cardinal Newman Express rolls to victory in the 1983 High School Boys All-Ontario Soccer Championship.
I'd say they were slightly more than happy on that one.
I would think so. Okay, they're the victors, and it's all over. We'll be back with our wrap-up right after these messages. And there you have it. That's what it's really all about. Welcome back to York University, and in just a moment, the Solicitor General of Canada, the Honorable Robert Kaplan, the MP from York Centre, will present Cardinal Newman High School of Hamilton with that beautiful trophy emblematic of supremacy in high school boys soccer in the province of Ontario. Jim Loftus, Jim Corbett, it was a true championship game in every sense of the word.
Absolutely, John. You could not ask for better soccer than that anywhere.
Well, Mr. Kaplan is moving in. We will thank you two gentlemen very, very much for joining us here this afternoon and last week as well in our soccer coverage.
My pleasure, John.
Pleasure, John. Anytime.
Thank you to Jim and Jim. And that winds it up. The 1983 soccer champions, Cardinal Newman High School, with a victory over the George Harvey Hawks of Toronto, 3-2 in overtime. And now this is John McGilvery on behalf of our entire TV11 crew, bidding you all a very pleasant good afternoon from York University in Toronto.
For Anthony Washington.
The National Football League.
We're in the magnificent...
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our coverage of the European Cup. And in just a few minutes, we will be going live via satellite to Brussels, Belgium, and we will see this afternoon's European Cup with Juventus of Italy playing Liverpool, the defending champion. And Liverpool has a rather awesome attack, and they are going to be very difficult to upset this afternoon, and Juventus has not had a great deal of luck so far. Our guest commentators this afternoon, let me introduce on my right Rocco Cifaldi, the former coach of the Marconi Club. And on Rocco's right, we have with us Graham Whitehead, who has just recently arrived in Canada after playing 4 years in the States. And he is now playing with Marconi. And we'll be meeting these gentlemen and picking up their comments on this afternoon's game right after these commercial announcements. Well, like millions of people around the globe, we are awaiting the kickoff in Brussels, Belgium. It will be Juventus of Italy and Liverpool of England. And Rocco, let me ask you, Juventus has not had terrific luck in winning this particular cup. 12 attempts, and they are fruitless so far. Will they do it today?
Yes, it is true that they have failed all of their tries. But I think that Juventus players, in which the stars like Rossi, Boniak, Platini, and all the rest of these players, they're all great players, and I think that they will go down into their reserve and come up with a good game today.
Graham, you're a bit of a newcomer to London. Tell me a little bit about where you've been playing soccer in the past and how you see it turning out this afternoon. Will Liverpool come out on top?
Okay, well, for myself, I grew up in England and came over to the States when I was 19, and I've been playing there for 4 years, and now I've just arrived here. As far as the game today, Liverpool I see a little bit of extra motivation for them with the success of Everton, being such close neighbours, and they've been kind of put in the shade of Everton, and and they haven't had any chance to win a domestic trophy, so this is their chance to prove that they're still the kind of big kid on the street, so to speak.
Rocco, let's turn the coin the other way a moment and say, if there's a weakness that either team has, what would you say it is with Juventus?
The weakness of Juventus this year has actually been their defense. They are in a rejuvenating stage at this time, and I know that a lot of the mistakes that was caused by the defense, the other team have taken advantage of it, and this is why that in the standing itself in Italy, you know, they're quite low, sixth as that I know in the standing.
Is there, Graham, with Liverpool, a soft spot in the underbelly that maybe Juventus can take advantage of?
Well, it's often been said that the goalkeeper, Bruce Grobbelaar, who is a South African and has a few eccentric kind of actions when he's on the field, and he's often been criticised, and